Welcome, everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is Dr. Blue and Sir Phoenix Black, and we're the Journey Unleashed. Say hi, Sir Phoenix Black.
Hi, Sir Phoenix Black.
You're so crazy. Well, we'd like you to remember before we get started that this is a casual conversation for the betterment of our kinky peeps to explore diverse perspectives through dialogue. We are not preaching the gospel, we are not teaching. We are learning as we go, and the views we express here today may change next week because we are ever learning and ever evolving kinky humans. So, for our topic today, we have so many topics. Like we have a list of topics, like tons and tons of topics, and it's so hard to figure out what to talk about next.
Yes, we really are having topic overload in some ways. We record every 2 weeks, but we get 4 months worth of topics every 2 weeks that we come up with.
Right. And what ends up happening is we have a list, and then now we have to try to figure out from this list which topic should we do. And one topic that I felt like was really a worthy one to start with today was this idea about, I call it saturation. And it comes from my background in research. And what saturation is when we talk about in qualitative research, I don't want to get all academic on y'all, but there's this idea of how many people do you need to interview in order to get enough subjects to interview to make your research good, right? So my mentor used to always say, you find enough subjects until you get enough, keep getting subjects until you reach saturation. Well, saturation is when the point at which you stop getting anything new. So you can't, like a sponge, you can't soak up any more water. You know, the sponge is saturated, it's dripping water now, so you can't soak up any more water, right? And so there's a similar thing in non-monogamous or polyamorous relationships, this idea of saturation. You can't really, nurture any more additional relationships because you individually are saturated. You have all the relationships that you can manage well meaning no one feels neglected, no one feels like they are not being, that their particular relationship with you is no one feels like that is not being attended to, and you feel good, you feel comfortable, you don't feel overrun or stressed out because of all the relationships that you're trying to juggle at one time. If you get to a point where you've surpassed the point of comfort or people are complaining because you don't spend enough time with them, or you're complaining because someone's saturated, right? And so, the thing about saturation is it's not an intentional thing. I think when we find out, especially when we're new to non-monogamy, and we find out that we can have more than one person, and I'm thinking about this in the DS perspective or TPE or PE perspective, where the dominant can have more than one submissive or more than one slave. He or she's very thrilled about this, and this is a great thing because now a household can be built, right? The thing about it though is that each one of those little s they're going to have needs. They're going to have needs and wants, and they're going to be looking to the relationship with their D type to fulfill those needs and desires, right? And the D type has, you have
Yeah, the D type has
has
needs and
right?
desires.
Yes, and you have a finite set of resources, and oftentimes in our power exchange and total power exchange relationships, our D types don't want their S types or little s to have any additional relationships outside of the relationship that they have with their D type. Okay, cool. But if you have a lot of people, how do you divide the time up between each one of these people that you're trying to have serve you and have this kind of relationship with? And I'm talking about situations where, each one of these relationships with these little s's, they are intimate, they are, power exchange type relationships. Now, I think it's much easier for a D type to manage having one play partner that they see every now and again, with doesn't have a lot of obligations or a lot of expectations, right? And then maybe a long distance little s, that they don't have to see all the time, but maybe they talk to regularly. And then a live-in little s, that's more manageable than having like 2 live-in little s's and 1 local little s. And all of them are TPE or PE relationships, where there is this intensity, there's this emotional, substantial emotional investment coming and expected from everybody.
Well, a lot of that, I think a lot of that also.
How do you manage?
Well, I would say from both sides of the slash, which is something that one of my mentors talked about before, is that he said, and I've said this in a previous podcast, that one of the things that when you come into this life, he suggests that the first year you don't even worry about being in a dynamic or being in any type of relationship. Just focus on you. And the first thing is, you have to be, in my personal opinion, because I agree with him on this, is that you have to be self-aware. You have to have some introspection. You have to have some looking at what you can really handle, and being honest with yourself. I think that's the first thing. One of the things that I've been preaching about lately is being authenticity, knowing what you want and not judging what you want or who you are, just understanding and acknowledging it. I think a lot of people, and that's probably part of the reason with vanillas, is because people judge other people. We talk about it. People judge other people's kinks. People judge other people's what gets them off, how they do their dynamic, et cetera, et cetera. And that's something that we really shouldn't do, because a lot of it is done to us. There's a spectrum to this, but I think also you need to be honest about what you want and not judge. Don't say, like, for example, myself, I'm a sadist. There was a time that word did not really come to my tongue that easily. But I realized over time, it's just saying that, listen, if you take the judgment away and just look at it for what it is, I'm a sadist, and not try to judge, is this a good thing or bad thing, but it is what it is, then you are able to be more honest when you present yourself to an S-type and say, this is what I am, so you can make an informed decision.
Yeah.
A lot of this that is going on is that you have to be honest with yourself. Do you have the time?
Right.
Do
and
you
the
have
energy.
Do you have the time? Do you have the energy? Do you have the same focus to do this? Because you can be the two right people just at the wrong time.
Right. Because I think about it like this. And I found my saturation point when it comes to non-monogamy. It's I can't handle. I already know. I knew this. I know this from trying it. And sometimes you have to try it to know what you can handle. We often overestimate what we can handle. But I had to be honest with myself and say, okay, I can really only handle two truly intimate romantic relationships. Okay, and this is coming from my vanilla poly experiences. I can only handle 2. I can have 2. I was married, and then I had a boyfriend, and that was it. I really couldn't handle more than that. If I tried to date another person, I felt stressed out and pressured. I mean, run the numbers. I had. You got to have sleep 8 hours. I work to about 8-10 hours a day. I have a child to take care of, right? So if you start adding up the numbers, just the work and the sleep, is about 16 to 18 hours out of my day that's gone. You only got 24 hours out of it every day. The other 6 hours of what you got left. There's self-care. You got to take care of your personal business and things that you need to do to, just run your life. You need to recreate yourself. And you just there's not really a lot of time. Now, I will also say this too, what you just said, Sir Phoenix Black, about knowing what you need and being honest with yourself. And I think not judging yourself about what you need. I know for a fact that maybe if I were with 2 people that didn't need as much attention as they did, then maybe I could have handled a third. Maybe. But I tend to get with folks that like a lot of attention because I like a lot of attention. You know, I'm honest about that. And some people say, "Oh, that's clingy." You know, she's clingy or whatever. But then there are other people like you, Sir Phoenix Black. Whenever I've said I'm clingy, you say, "No, you're not clingy." But because my attention needs are on par with your ability to give attention. Okay, so, and I'm honest, I don't feel bad about saying that I like attention. I like to be able to snuggle up to my partner. I like to be able to spend time talking and have our intellectual mating sessions. I want to be able to have time with you.
But let me ask you this: how long did it take for you to be able to say I'm clingy and not feel something?
Not feel like I was judging myself. It took years. And I oftentimes would try to, be like, I don't need that. I'm good or whatever. But if I got into a relationship with someone and we didn't talk very often, and then when we did get together, all we did was have sex, it just felt like it wasn't a really substantive relationship. It just felt like we were just kind of fuck partners or something. And I didn't feel fulfilled by that. And, if I wanted more, not saying that fuck partners is a problem, because I've had that with no problem too. But if I wanted more with that person, and we couldn't because we had different needs, I would, try to make it work or whatever. And that person would feel saturated if they had too many partners that needed a lot of attention because they just didn't have it to give. So I had to come to grips with what I really needed, and so that I could seek out partners that that work for that. But I think that we often overestimate what we can do. And I think the self-judgment is where we go with that, because we want to be able to handle more than we can handle. We want to look like we're this, progressive, non-monogamous, person who can, walk out here and meet everybody's needs. And, and I think in DS and in, and what it is we do, we have a lot of ego problems. We think we're bigger than life, bigger than what we really are. And we think we can handle all them folks. And I've seen many a D-type think that they can handle 3 and 4 submissives or 3 and 4 slaves. And I'm saying, well, maybe you can if they don't need a lot of attention from you. You know what I'm saying? And I think sometimes we judge people for needing a lot of attention, but there's nothing wrong with that. And there's nothing wrong with not needing attention. And I'll tell you, if you're a person that doesn't need a lot of attention and you get with somebody that wants to give you a lot of attention, okay, you're going to get on that person's nerve. That's the same way as if that person will get on your nerve needing more attention than you can give them. So that is not an inherently right or wrong thing, needing attention or not needing it. It's about what's best. But about fit, which I think we might be able to talk about that too during this cast. We might have to make a separate one for that. But I think that, that saturation issue is, compounded by this idea that we are, bigger than life, that we can do more and handle more than we really can when we only got 24 hours in a day.
And the thing about it is that I think that, especially as dominants, I haven't met a dominant that didn't have a supreme amount of confidence. So we do believe in a lot of ways that we can handle this. We can handle all of these things, but sometimes you can have 2 people and it's just not the right time. And that's why you have the consideration process, in my opinion. You have to, and the 3 things that I think that come into play when you're looking at the consideration process is 3 things. And I use the acronym FAT, F-A-T. Do you all have the same focus? Okay. There are some people that come to this life looking at it or wanting it from more of a sexual perspective. Again, no judgment.
Right.
This just is what it is. Some people come to this lifestyle from a service perspective. They want it to be about the service that they provide to their D-type. The D-type is concerned about the service that the S-type provides to him or her. It's more service focused or service oriented. Some people come into this lifestyle because they want a sense of personal growth, and they want to grow into into or what they consider a higher evolution or a higher way of thinking and things like that,
or a better self, or whatever.
A better self, right? So you have a D type and an S type where maybe the D type is more concerned about the sexual focus, and the S type is more concerned about personal growth and growing into a better version of themselves. That's a situation of not being a good fit. Mm-hmm. And then sometimes you can have people that you might line up in all those ways. But the S type or the D type just doesn't, which goes to saturation, just doesn't have the time or the energy to be able to add another S type. And that's a painful thing, because you meet this D type and you think that he's great, and D type meets this S type and you think it's a good fit or whatever. But when you're honest with yourself, you're like, at this point in my life, I can't really give you what you need. And that's a painful thing to have to admit. But it's honest. It takes a level of self-reflection to say, listen, I think you are great, but I have so much stuff on my plate that I would be doing you a disservice by accepting your petition.
And you know what? I want to say this. I think, and this is coming from more of my polyamorous, non-monogamous, vanilla experiences than in my, lifestyle, DS lifestyle stuff experience. I see a lot of people angry. They break up. They're mad at each other. Someone feels like the relationship was neglected. They didn't get treated well, blah, 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 blah. And technically, they feel like they didn't get treated well. So I think if you feel like you didn't get treated well, then you probably didn't. But wasn't because that person maliciously tried to mistreat you. They may not have had the time to give you the things that you needed. Or maybe there was an area of self-development that they were lacking and they were unable to. For example, I'll give you an example. For some people, honesty is huge. Not just honesty, but the ability to disclose a lot of things, is a big deal for some people.
What's your phrase you use for that?
What?
Honesty-related bitch assness.
Oh, yeah. Right. I was getting to that. But someone, so let's just say, Sir Phoenix Black, that I'm one of those people who feels like that honesty is a huge thing. If you can't be honest with me and you can't disclose to me things that are going on with you, then that's a deal breaker for me. And just for the record, for me, it's not across the board a deal breaker, because I recognize that some people have honesty-related bitch assness.
Define for the people honesty-related bitch assness.
Honesty-related bitch assness is fear related to telling your truth. So, for example, someone is,
how about this? I'm going to say this. I'm scared to admit to you that I'm going to say this because I'm scared you're going to judge me and run off.
Yes.
So I don't tell you because
don't tell me.
So that's an example
of honesty-related bitch assness.
I know my honest truth, but I'm scared that I got too much bitch assness to tell you my truth.
Right. And see, I don't judge that as a bad thing. I look at that as a personal development opportunity. It's kind of a development flaw. You need some personal development. But now what can end up happening, is you get into a situation with someone who can't be honest about their truth with you. So you end up thinking that person can give you what you need when they haven't told you that they can't, because they're afraid to tell you the truth. They're afraid, and they don't mean to hurt you. They ain't one trying to hurt you. Okay, they just couldn't do it. They didn't know. Some of you people don't even know. They don't know what they can and can't do. They don't even know. They don't know. I've been in that situation as a bi female. I've had women coming to me talking about, I'm bi, and I want to be in a relationship with you, and can we get to know each other? And oh my God, right? And come to find out, them heifers ain't bi. They just
curious.
Curious, and they said they don't know. They don't even know what they want. They don't even know what they're asking for.
So do you hold? So here's the other. This is a question related to that. Then, can you really hold someone accountable for something that they don't know?
I knew you were gonna ask me that, Sir Phoenix Black. And I say yes and no.
Yes and no.
Yes and no. If I hit you, if I'm in my car okay, and I have a heart attack while I'm driving. I didn't know I was going to have this heart attack. And I run you over with my car, and you got 2 broken legs, end up in the hospital and traction and things for a couple months. Are your hurts and wounds going to be any less than if I knew and purposely hit you with that car?
No, they're not.
No, they're not. No, they're not.
But there's something behind that as far as intent.
Intent matters. Intent matters. Okay, and so that's the reason why I feel like it behooves us to know ourselves, because we can inadvertently hurt people. And I think that's what ends up happening more often than not. Folks don't know what they can and can't do. They don't know their level of saturation. They don't know what they can provide, really. And so they're trying shit out. And all you got to do is just say, I don't know. That's all you got to do. Let the person in on it.
Oh,
but some people don't even know that they don't know.
About to say that, yes.
But for me, I guess, and that's where personal accountability can come in. Because whenever someone starts talking to me,
personal responsibility and consensual kink.
Well, yes, there's that. And what I say, whenever someone comes to me, whenever a new, like I'll use the whole bi woman thing, bi female thing. Whenever I meet a new lady friend and she seems very attractive and we have this, energy and chemistry between us, I will look for the signs. I look for the signs of a person who has explored her sexuality and is sure that she's bi, has been in relationships before, has gone through some aspect of the coming out process. That's always a sign. I look for the signs to let me know if this person is self-aware or not. And if I see signs that they're not self-aware, then I can say, okay, I don't know if I want to go there with this person because they don't look like that they're self-aware, and I'm not willing to be the test dummy for them. I'm not willing to be the test dummy and let them figure it out on me. I'm not willing. Or I can say, I like them enough to take the risk and I can dive into it. And I think dominance, because you guys get petitioned, I think it's your responsibility to look for the signs. Because if it goes bad and you can't meet her needs because you're saturated, or because she has needs that you can't meet anyway because it's just not your thing. It's not in you to meet those needs. Okay, it's your responsibility to scope that situation out so that you can, because she may not be able to,
on the dominant side.
Well, I just told you though. What if the person doesn't know? Like we just said, they didn't mean to misrepresent themselves, right? So it's your responsibility to guard your own situation, because you and the S type, you and the S type get together, all right? Y'all, things go bad. You get blamed because you didn't treat this person right. Okay,
listen,
so now you have to be.
That comes with the territory in a lot of ways.
It does come with the territory, but I think it can be minimized if we pay attention, if we know ourselves, and if we use some discernment with regard to who we entangle ourselves with. So if you get to know someone for a while, or even, it doesn't even have to, time is not the issue. Okay, you can get to know someone in a very short time depending on the activities and interactions you have with that person. That's what I believe anyway. So for all y'all out there that feel like you got to have a minimum 6 month, vetting period or something, you don't have to, I don't think. I think you can do this quickly, at least more quickly than that, and still have a good sense of what this person can handle. There's going to be challenges in the relationship anyway. But my thing is, in order to minimize the probability of someone coming back and saying, well, you didn't give me what I needed, or he mistreated me, or whatever, or she mistreated me, or whatever, kind of, if you get a feel for the fit, get a feel for what this person is asking, what they're willing to give in a relationship, what they're asking, what you're willing to give, what you're asking, and you can tell if somebody has not done the self-work.
Well, if both people have to have done the self-work.
Well,
but then also,
that's true.
But then also, sometimes circumstances may affect how well you will fit. Maybe you're the right person and at the right time, but maybe not under the right circumstances. I'll give an example. Let's say it's you meet this person and everything. I know it can be very high from the NRE and everything.
Ooh, yes.
But you honestly can say we are a good fit. We have the same level of the same focus as far as this life goes. I'm not saturated, that you're not saturated, that kind of thing.
Did you finish talking about the FAT?
Well, I'll come back to that. I don't know if we're gonna get through all this. This might be a 2 or even a 3-parter, y'all. But then you're in a situation where it's long distance. And see, if you're in a long distance relationship, there's only even if neither one of you is saturated, there's only so much attention you can give. You have financial constraints, you have time constraints, you have job constraints, that kind of thing.
Unless you got unlimited funds. Well, some people got unlimited funds.
If y'all got some unlimited funds, we're gonna be doing a fundraiser at some point. So I will be looking for some support. but you're gonna need that. You need a lot of attention. And under different circumstances, if you all were local, that person could give you that attention. But if you long distance, it's like, you're gonna constantly be craving. That's why I think what my mentor said about if you're in a long distance dynamic, having the understanding that there is an endpoint to that.
Right. Yeah.
Instead of it just being indefinite. Because if you're someone, we all like attention. Let's be honest.
Yeah. At some level.
At some level, and we all like some level of attention. But if you're in a long distance, the amount of attention you can give is capped. It's capped by about your time, your financial resources, et cetera, et cetera. So if you're in a long distance relationship, that is automatically capped. And if you were local, then you would get the level of attention that you need. So that's why I said what my mentor said about there should be an endpoint to the long distance thing, so that you understand it's not indefinite, and you will be able to supply each other's level of attention in a better way.
But Sir Phoenix Black, I really do think that for some people, they want a long distance relationship because they can't do the full-time dynamic. Maybe they have a career and children or whatever else they got going on in that city. And for them, trying to have it full-time is just not something that they can really do. But they still want to have some interaction that's a TPE or PE type of situation, but they don't have the time to. So you would find someone who is on the same plane with you, right?
That's all. As long as, and that's why I think honesty, authenticity is the way to lay it out up front. If you don't have those things right up front, then you can't present yourself to your D-type, your potential D-type or S-type, so that they can make an informed decision.
Yeah.
Because if you say, listen, I'm clingy, and I need a lot of attention, and I have 3 S-types already, and you're long distance, I'm probably gonna be like.
And you have a full-time job,
right? So
you ain't got unlimited funds. And maybe you have a child or an aging parent to take care of.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So therefore, you might be good. You might like this particular person, and the NRE is flowing like the Mississippi, but I can't do that. We got too many things that will lend itself to go bad in this situation. Because if you're long distance and you're someone who requires a lot of attention, and I'm a dominant who lives 800 miles away, and I have 3 S-types and a pretty demanding job and a child, I'm going to do you a disservice by accepting your petition, because you're probably going to feel neglected, or maybe I would say, I really can't be a substantial dominant to you. I don't know, maybe we can just be play partners, occasional play partners or whatever.
Right. Something that's more manageable.
Right. Something that's more manageable and more honest, and say to this person, this is what I can give you at this point.
Is that okay? And the person can choose to say no if it's not,
But that requires a lot of honesty. Yeah. Just like I say that about S-types who meet someone, and really, this is kind of something that's been floating around in my world right now, is that they meet someone and they are a top, but the S-type is a submissive, and they're looking for a dominant. They're not really looking for a top. They're looking for a dominant. And I always use the equation or the analogy of Chinese food. If you're a submissive or a slave, and you come across a top, it's kind of like Chinese food. It'll keep you alive. It'll feed you, but you're not gonna be satisfied. You're gonna be hungry pretty soon because you all's focus again. It kind of goes back to the focus.
Right.
You all's focus is are at two different places. You're a submissive looking for a dominant. That other side is a top looking for a bottom. Y'all probably be all right for a while.
Right, yeah, but it's not aligned.
But
it's a mismatch.
Right. It's still a mismatch.
Yeah.
And but even if that situation goes, as long as if you're honest and you say I'm the S type, the little S says I'm a submissive looking for a dominant, and then the D type says, well, I'm a top looking for a bottom. You at least going in, if you go in,
that this is
what it is.
We're going on here, and you know what, we're almost at time. So I want to continue this in another part 2 of this. Is that okay? Because
when I get on a roll, I don't just stop.
Well, we can continue.
But we'll split it. We can make a part 2.
Yeah, let's make a part 2 because I want to talk more about this idea of fit. We talked about it in terms of saturation and knowing how much you can give in terms of attention, but there are other factors that determine fit. Well, he was talking about focus, and I don't know what the other 2 things are. I forgot that quickly, but I want to get back into how do you determine that? How do you figure out if you're a good fit? If you and the person that you're considering are a good fit or not. So we're going to end here, and we'll come back to that in part 2 of this episode. Did you have something you wanted to say?
Oh yeah, I wanted just my ending disclaimer. First of all, thank you all who have been listening. I think the last time that I looked, we were well over 300 downloads at this point.
Yay! Thank you.
I'm looking forward to the moment when we hit 1,000, and I thank you all for that, and those people who have subscribed to our channel. Just so you know, this has all kind of been beta testing for what I call a true release, and kind of working out our kinks, technical kinks, everything like that. We may be changing the name of the podcast at a certain point, because I'm realizing that it's what we've been talking about is really not just BDSM and power exchange dynamics. It's really alternative lifestyles in a lot of ways. Polyamory, we don't really talk about swinging that much because that's not really our thing. But we talk about non-monogamy and BDSM in a way. So as a way to try to kind of give a better view of what the direction of the podcast, I may be changing the name. And hold tight for that. I want to have a name that kind of gives a better perspective of what we are and what we're trying to do. So thank you all for the support. Part 2 coming up.
Yes, coming up next.